Coming up next on West Side Stories, a special report from Kalamazoo on the Bronson Park protests and what's changed for the city's homeless.
And we look at what will happen if Michigan voters make recreational marijuana legal.
And GVSU sends Papa John's pizza packing. All that and more coming up on West Side Stories.
West Side Stories is produced by students from the Multimedia Journalism program at Grand Valley State University. Support also comes from the School of Communications. Inspiring thought, perfecting practice.
Welcome to West Side Stories. I'm Preston Delakuski.
And I'm Callie Hubbard. Kalamazoo officials are still feeling the pressure from the Bronson Park protests late this summer.
During that protest, almost 100 people joined the local homeless population to bring attention to some fundamental problems with the way the city treats the homeless. Associate producer Linnea Martinez filed this special report.
My name is Daryl, D-A-R-R-Y-L-E-I-C-H-L-E-R, and I've been diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver, cancer of the liver, cancer of the kidneys.
Eichler is one of hundreds in the city of Kalamazoo who are currently experiencing homelessness. For the past week, he's been living in a tent on a piece of land owned by a local shelter. He says that it wasn't his choice to be there.
That's how I became homeless, because I was in the hospital for 6 months and lost my job, and they put a boot on my door, and the landlord said if I give him $4,800, I could get back in. But I no longer had a job.
Eichler isn't the only person struggling. In mid-August, a group of individuals who are homeless set up tents in Kalamazoo's Bronson Park.
I just want to feel safe. Kind of want to feel normal. See, we all feel normal here with each other because we know each other.
Scott is one of around 60 people taking part in what he says is a peaceful protest. The goal? To bring awareness to issues surrounding the homeless population.
A couple weeks ago, the city tried to pass some ordinances that criminalize homelessness here in the city. We were successful in the fact that they did not pass those ordinances. And then we realized that there's a bigger problem in our county, in our city. And we're advocating for the homeless community as a whole.
They said it was against city ordinance to pop up a tent in the city limits, but yet they don't put any limit anywhere close enough for you to get shelter, food, water, bathroom, things of that nature.
If not Arcadia, what's the next step from here? What is it that folks want next?
Protesters had been trying to negotiate with Kalamazoo city officials since they started staying at the park. It hasn't been easy.
We were discussing an option that the city had given to us about moving to a different location instead of being in the park. During the meeting, we pretty much came to a unanimous decision that we are staying put. We're also protesting against the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission, which has been blatantly not helping, or there's issues with the way staff has been treating the homeless population that goes through their doors.
I was staying at the homeless shelter, the Gospel Mission, and it was horrible. They've got 150 plus men laying on the ground with prisoner mats who don't all stay sanitary.
The Kalamazoo Gospel Mission is an organization that runs a men and women's shelter in the city. Pastor Michael Brown says that he isn't fazed by the criticism.
I've heard some of the comments that they have to say, and when the comments come up, I say, that's not true.
They stay down behind the door. They have a couple rooms and bunk beds back there.
Jalissa Martin has been staying at the mission with her 1-year-old son since the end of June. She says that while she's grateful for what the mission is doing, there is still room for improvement.
It's not as clean as I would want it to be.
So what do you...
I can't put my son down to crawl, and he's just now crawling, starting to walk and everything. I can't put him down to crawl, let him start walking or none of that. So it's irritating, and a lot of women have little babies, have to keep their kids in the strollers because the floor is so nasty.
When asked about the conditions in the shelter, Pastor Brown says that they're working on new improvements. He also adds that there is only so much they can do with a small amount of space.
anybody can stay at the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission. Where we run into problems at is where people come because of the numbers of homeless that we have and the available space, then we quickly run out of bed space. And so then we'll have mats. And people don't want to sleep on a mat, so they'll say, well, they wouldn't let me stay at the Gospel Mission. No, we let you stay where we had space.
Pastor Brown offered to show us the piece of land the mission provided for those in the Bronson Park encampment. This is where Eichler is living, and he has his own opinions on the mission.
I stayed in the mission. The only thing that they gave me there at the mission was a goddamn old, thin, mat. That's how I got the cough. It wouldn't give me a pillow, wouldn't give me...
Not everyone agrees with Eichler.
This area right here is awesome. Awesome. The Gospel Mission and the pastor and everyone there, they really, really do a lot for people.
Back in Bronson Park, protesters express their frustrations and hopes for the future.
I feel like people are kind of like pushing us to the side, like, you guys are homeless. You got in this situation, so we're going to leave you there. We don't deserve to be here. These kids don't deserve to be here.
Nobody around here wants to be out here getting food given to them. Everybody wants that normal life where you work for what you got. Everything you want to get, you pay for, your house, your rent, electric. Everybody wants that.
I feel like finally some voice has been put out there and we're being heard, and some things are actually being said that mean something to us as the people.
It's now early October. The tent city disappeared almost overnight as city officials made their final decision. Protesters could no longer stay in the park. City manager Jin Retsima said that the camp grew too large to remain sanitary. 14 remaining protesters were arrested, including County Commissioner Shannon Sykes, who had joined the protest a few weeks in. Reporting for West Side Stories in Kalamazoo, I'm Linnea Martinez.
According to a report by MLive, dozens of protesters reunited at City Hall to continue putting pressure on city officials. Kalamazoo officials say they are addressing the problem.
As the clock ticks closer to November 6th, West Side Stories reporter Jake O'Donnell takes a look at how Grand Valley State University is gearing up for midterm elections.
October 9th is the last day to register to vote in this upcoming election, and students like Lorenz Rivero want to get that message out. Rivero, a member of the Campus Democratic Engagement Coalition, has made it a point to encourage his fellow Lakers to get out and exercise their constitutional rights.
We saw the statistics from the last election and saw that we were a little behind nationally in terms of what universities our size are voting and registering at. So over the last year, our coalition has really tried to push more events to get people out here to vote and to have people educated. So today we had the Secretary of State mobile office here to register voters, and we also had absentee ballots here so that people could, it was kind of a one-stop shop for all of that. And our goal was to get more registrations than we did for the 2016 presidential election.
Rivero was not alone in his mission, as September 25th marked National Voter Registration Day. As Associate Director of Student Life for Civic Engagement, Melissa Baker-Busamra and Steve Daish, Ottawa County Elections Coordinator, explained, over the past few years, GVSU has done a great job in supporting students and their right to vote.
Here at Grand Valley, we've been observing and participating in this event for the past 2 years. This is our third, so we're really excited to be a part of this again.
Grand Valley does an excellent job of making sure their students are registered and that they're knowledgeable about what's going on with their elections. And we're really grateful for it for the county. Grand Valley is the largest college or university in the county, and we're thrilled to be able to partner with the campus to be able to make sure that everybody's registered, whether they want to register here in Allendale or if they want to get registered to vote back at their home address, wherever they're coming from all across the state.
Political fever always seems to ramp up around election time. However, some student organizations try to keep it going on campus all year long. According to Tim McKeeby, chairman of the GVSU College Republicans, the best way to do that is to get out and engage in the community.
We're having many members of our club, especially our great veteran members, go and knock every weekend, every weeknight they can. Knock doors for Congressman Heisigov, for Amanda Brand, Chris Affadoulis, all these candidates. We're knocking, we're doing phone calls for Michigan Republican Party. We're doing phone calls for other conservative groups, for candidates individually. We've been helping Bill Schuette. We love John James. We have many of our members of our club helping him out.
The college Republicans were not the only campus organization busy campaigning. College Democratic Chairman Brian Bialowas was unable to meet in person, but told me through email his club has been busy at work preparing for November. He said, quote, "We are actively engaging with our candidates and offering them opportunities to come in and speak with students and encourage our members to go out and volunteer or work with these candidates to promote the Democratic Party's mission." Although Bialowas and McKeeby are toughing it out on the campaign trail for their respective parties, the two club presidents say they still find time to set aside politics and maintain a friendly relationship.
So, funny thing is, the college Democrats and college Republicans, the chairmen of each club, are not modern day political rivals. We're actually good friends, like politics were way back. So I think we're kind of more of a Nixon and JFK thing, like you're going to talk, or Obama and McCain. You're going to be friends, you're going to be nice to each other. So that's what we're doing. So I know they're out there, they're hard at work, they're doing voter registration drives, they're having candidates come in, they had their candidate for lieutenant governor come in. They're pushing hard too, and we're pushing, I like to think, harder.
In light of the current polarized political climate in Washington, D.C., many may see this relationship as unique and, frankly, encouraging. This election season, Grand Valley State University will also make history, as WGVU TV will be hosting a debate between Senator Debbie Stabenow and challenger John James. This debate is scheduled to take place Sunday, October 14th, and is Michigan's first senatorial debate in 10 years. A second debate is scheduled for the next night and is to be hosted by the Detroit Economic Club. Reporting from Allendale, I'm Jake O'Donnell.
Thanks, Jake. A quick reminder that the deadline to register to vote is October 9th.
The national pizza chain Papa John's is still feeling the heat after their founder made racially insensitive comments during a conference call. Now Grand Valley State University is cutting ties with the company. Reporter Devin Deli has more.
Papa John's has been a staple of Grand Valley's campus dining options, with students enjoying the convenience of having a pizza delivery place right on campus. However, as people are quickly learning, it won't be there for much longer.
We have an existing process to identify what we would change it to. We hope to do that by the end of this semester, and then the existing Papa John's would shut down at the end of classes in April.
In June of 2018, it was discovered that the company's founder, John Schnatter, had used a racial slur during a conference call. Schnatter's comments were met with immediate backlash, resulting in a long list of businesses and universities deciding to cut ties with the company. Now, that list includes Grand Valley State University.
And I think we have to be responsive. As a public institution, we get 18% of our funding from the state. We're a state university. We have to be responsive, I think, to the sensitivities across that very diverse student and faculty population.
After Schnatter's comments were made public, the company began making an effort to distance themselves from their founder. But Grand Valley has been looking to replace Papa John's since before the incident even occurred, due to reasons such as declining sales and the company not evolving their brand. Now, although Schnatter's comments were not the start of the discussion for Grand Valley, they did cause officials to push ahead the timeline for replacement by more than a year, a move that students seem to be in support of.
It wouldn't just be seen as not doing anything about it, it would almost be seen as doing the opposite or promoting it, since it would be going against the norm of all the other campuses.
The location in the Commons was what's known as an institutional franchise and was able to be replaced right away, but the Connection location is a full franchise with delivery services, which is why it's taking a few months to complete that change. Now, what will replace it is still up in the air. It could be another pizza chain or something else entirely. West Side Stories tried numerous times to reach out to campus dining for a comment, but we were unsuccessful. However, we did ask some students what sort of restaurant they'd like to see on campus.
I'd probably want another pizza place, just because, like, late at night, I just like pizza.
Probably Chick-fil-A would be nice. Chick-fil-A would be nice, but I don't know if that will happen.
Something different would be pretty cool, just because GV has a couple of pizza locations.
More healthy stuff.
Well, if it's a delivery place, then another delivery place would be matching it. it would make sense?
Well, ideally, I would want a Chick-fil-A, but I know we probably can't get that.
Aramark and Grand Valley State University are working together to find a replacement option before this location closes at the end of April. But until then, students can still come in and order pizza at the regular hours. Reporting for West Side Stories, I'm Devin Deli.
Still no word on what will replace Papa John's Pizza in the Connection campus dining facility on the Allendale campus.
This year, voters will decide on whether or not the sale and possession of recreational marijuana will become legal in Michigan. Reporter Mackenzie Sorrell has more on the proposal and what this could mean for Michigan residents.
I think it's about time for this to happen.
I am not a proponent of legalized marijuana.
The proposal to legalize marijuana has made it to the ballot in Michigan. The proposal would make marijuana legal for adults 21 and over. Michigan residents would be able to possess up to 10 ounces of marijuana in their homes and buy 2.5 ounces at a time. It would also allow residents to grow up to 12 plants. Cannabis attorney Brandon Gardner believes that legalizing marijuana would benefit Michigan. He says legalizing marijuana will broaden the business market by creating new business opportunities in the state. But police are worried they would not have enough time to establish procedures for enforcing the law.
Just because it passes in November doesn't automatically mean that, boom, I can possess marijuana. It takes an entire year until it even goes into effect. I think that there are more restrictions than people think that they're going to be.
Gardner says Michigan has time to educate residents on what they can and cannot do under the law. He also says legalizing marijuana will benefit the court system by reducing traffic involving marijuana misdemeanor charges and minor offenses. Gardner says legalizing marijuana will do three things. 1,
free up the court system. It would, 2, permit anybody 21 years old or older to possess up to 2.5 ounces of marijuana. And 3, it would tax marijuana.
If passed, the proposal will place a 10% excise tax on recreational marijuana. $20 million of taxes will go towards research to prevent veteran suicide until 2022. The remaining funds would be divided up. 35% would go to the Michigan Transportation Fund for roads, and 35% would go to the School Aid Fund for K-12 education. But Superintendent Tom Tenbrink doubts the legislature will follow through with more funding for his school. He says it's a shell game where the government takes in the money but then uses it for something else. In other words, Tenbrink doesn't think that the school system will actually receive any additional money. Worse yet, he thinks legalizing recreational marijuana will harm the health of students.
As a nation, you would have thought we might have learned from the whole tobacco industry and the way that impacted our health as a nation and our students. For many, many years, we dealt with junior high, high school students smoking tobacco, and it took us years to help them understand why that was so dangerous for their health.
In Ottawa County, 8th grade students take a youth risk assessment survey. Results show students are trying marijuana at about age 13. Those who argue against legalizing marijuana, like Tenbrink, say making it legal makes it easier for kids to get.
We've seen in the past with medical marijuana is making marijuana more accessible. Right or wrong, it's making it more accessible to kids. So when we legalize marijuana, I think that the trend would probably stay the same, and it would just give those students easier opportunity to get that than it was before.
I do believe it can be used for medical purposes, but I don't believe it has any place in just a recreational part of our society. And in schools, we're going to just be back to, unfortunately, having to discipline students who bring marijuana to school and set up their own shop and selling it.
Both Officer Bennett and Superintendent Tenbrink say they are most concerned with how to protect students, and that means focusing on schools. But Bennett says it also means watching for a new kind of DUI.
I think the impact is, again, going to impact our youth more than anything. I think that we're going to have to really tackle that with education in the schools. We're going to have to tackle that with drivers and driving under the influence and what those things mean. And we're all going to also have to tackle it on our end, being able to test for this stuff.
It's still probable cause to search a vehicle if the officer believes that there's marijuana in the car.
Marijuana will still have its restrictions, and law enforcement will have many difficult decisions to make if marijuana becomes legalized.
Not any different than tobacco, it's just marijuana.
I realize that it's not the most popular of topics, but it's something that needs to be done.
According to a recent poll by the Detroit News and WGVU, the majority of Michigan residents favor making recreational marijuana legal in Michigan. But 1/3 of voters responded that they were still undecided. While it's still not clear that voters will make marijuana legal in Michigan, it will be one of the most closely watched ballot proposals this November.
In Grand Rapids, I'm Mackenzie Sorrell.
Thanks, Mackenzie. You can head to the polls to vote on this proposal on Tuesday, November 6th.
And in this next story, reporter Elliot Perpich takes us out on Lake Michigan with GVSU families on the WG Jackson.
The lakeside town of Muskegon always has an eye on the water. Through combining research, education, and outreach, the Annis Water Resources Institute aims to enhance and preserve freshwater resources. Dr. Janet Vale says that while educating young people is their bread and butter, today is all about some special visitors.
Normally we work with students who are grades 4 and up, but today it's all adults, and we've got education class coming in the morning, and in the afternoon we have 2 trips for the GVSU Family Weekend.
While most of the learning goes on inside the classroom, the big highlight of the day is a day trip on the water aboard the WG Jackson.
The boat's 65 feet long, or just short of it, and it's 22-foot beam. And we have 8 staterooms. We have a nice galley, we have a kitchen, you know, a microwave, a refrigerator, a stove, and everything, nice showers. And when we go out on down trips, we stay on the boat, so, you know, it's pretty nice. You know, for a work boat, it's nice and clean, and our boss wants to keep it that way, so we do.
Along with the boat, the outreach program aims to keep the local watershed as clean as possible, which includes more than just the lakes.
And here's Lake Michigan, and here's Muskegon Lake, where we're doing our sampling, but all of this is the Muskegon River that drains into Muskegon Lake. Folks that are on the boat have the opportunity to actually look at some of the water quality parameters, and they are on the back deck with our sampling equipment, and then also in our onboard laboratory that was specially designed for education and outreach.
According to Dr. Vale, education is the easy part. The hard part is getting people involved. On Family Weekend, however, there's no problem filling the boat with GVSU students and their families. Boarding more than 25 passengers, the boat could get a little crazy if it weren't for the veteran crew, like the ship's engineer, Dave Fisher, a sailor with plenty of big lake experience.
Well, I've sailed on the Great Lakes a lot, Chicago to Mackinac races, and, you know, and regular sailboat races, and this boat also. And you have to respect the water. Like yesterday, I mean, today's nice and calm out there, the east wind. Yesterday we had 7 to 10 foot waves out there, and you have to respect that because they're powerful, you know, and they can pull you under. They can do a lot of things to even big ships. So I don't know, the water's powerful. You have to respect it. That's all I can say. You can have fun doing it, but you have to know what you're doing, else you get yourself in trouble in a hurry.
Lucky for us, the crew of the Jackson knows what they're doing. They've been running research on the lakes for decades. One of the passengers, Rachel Orzakowski, has made 5 trips aboard the WG Jackson. She says she loves the adventure.
I grew up right across from Riverside Park in downtown Grand Rapids. I spent a lot of my time in the park there, playing around in the water. I spent a lot of time on the East Coast. My family is from the East Coast in Virginia and Maryland, and so I spent a lot of time in the Atlantic Ocean, got my love of nature and water there. When families come on the Jackson, to really immerse yourself in the different types of projects that they have going on in here, whether it's going inside and seeing how the dissolved oxygen differs from Muskegon Lake to Lake Michigan, from the surface waters to the bottom waters, or whether or not you're just looking at the clarity of each of the waters. But you're really going to get what you put into this adventure of science. And to sit back and just let someone else do the work, I say would not be the best option. I would advise to really get your hands dirty. That's why the Jackson is here, so that people can firsthand experience what it's like being on a research vessel.
The Jackson gives passengers the chance to remove invasive species, like zebra mussels. Zebra mussels make the water clearer by filtering out necessary nutrients. By using what's called a Secchi disc, researchers can estimate how many mussels are present.
Okay, keep going. And it's disappearing there, isn't it? It's disappearing.
Passengers also get to study the health of the water and witness what people in the area are doing to improve it.
Seems like the lakes are getting better all the time, and in the years I've been here, it seems like Muskegon Lake, White Lake, Lake Michigan are getting cleaner and they're getting better. So somebody's doing something right. I think maybe it's with the education part of it.
If you don't know how to actively help the environment, do some research. The Jackson's entire crew may be retired, but they have yet to give up teaching.
Oh, this one right here, that's a rotifer.
And they know what they're talking about. Here in Muskegon, I'm Elliot Perpich.
That's all we have for this week's show. I'm Preston Unakuski.
And I'm Callie Hubbard. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
West Side Stories is produced by students from the Multimedia Journalism program at Grand Valley State University. Support also comes from the School of Communications, inspiring thought, perfecting practice.